That's delicious.
Yeah, it is. It is quite nice. I wasn't expecting that to be as flavorful as it is right now.
Try that.
Surprised by it. And I had not tried these before, but I'm satisfied with it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's where you land. Wow, right?
I'm a man of few words.
I'm your host, Jeff Sart. We're going to take you behind the scenes with the craft distillers who are pouring their heart and soul into crafting the next version of America's spirit. This is the Great American Whiskey Cookers. Welcome to this edition of the Great American Whiskey Cookers. We are here in our backyard at Swisher, Iowa. It's Cedar Ridge Distillery, and we're joined by a couple key players here at Cedar Ridge. This is also, and we'll get into this, the first distillery in Iowa since Prohibition, and we'll launch into that when we get a little bit further. But first, I'm going to have you guys introduce yourselves as just exactly who you are.
I'm Murphy Quint. I'm the head distiller and director of operations here at Cedar Ridge Winery and Distillery. So I oversee all of our operations, mainly distillery operations, but including the wine side of things as well.
Okay, fantastic.
Jamie Siefkin, general manager and executive VP. I'm in charge of hospitality, sales, marketing, distribution. So been here for a little while, and it's been an honor to see Cedar Ridge grow over the years.
Fantastic. So here's where I want to start. Let's start with how Cedar Ridge came about and where all that came from, because I remember growing up here in Iowa, there were no distilleries.
That's right. Yeah. It's been kind of a wild ride, and I don't think any of us would have seen all of this happening. It was a very different vision, a very different plan in the early stages. So my parents started the company in 2005 is when we really opened for business, but in 2001, 2002 is when we started really planting vines to be a vineyard. That's how Cedar Ridge actually started. It was going to be this lifestyle business, this vineyard, this passion project, and it has evolved into something that is obviously very different from that. But we started out with a vineyard focus, eventually led to a winery, and the distillery side of things was actually to differentiate our winemaking process. Why would we go to Cedar Ridge Winery? Well, they also have vodka and gin and rum and brandy and stuff like that. So early on, it was actually a vineyard concept, and we really evolved into a distillery that also has a nice wine business.
In 2005, when you started this, or when your parents started this, right? You were how old?
15, 16, somewhere in there. Yeah.
So have you kind of grown up with being in this business?
Yeah, I have actually a pretty unique background in the sense that most people really have to fight to get into this industry. I've worked in this industry a long time now at a couple different distilleries, and it's usually, I was an engineer somewhere and I got burnt out, didn't love it, I wanted to get into whiskey. Or, I was going to be a doctor, didn't like it, and I wanted to get into whiskey. It's a bunch of people that were doing something else that decided they wanted to chase passion instead of what they were doing.
Sure.
I had a unique background in the sense that I was kind of born into this industry, and that's really common because this craft movement isn't really that old. So there's not many people that grew up in this like I did, and that's kind of exciting to me. But yeah, I was 15, 16. Early on, I was really just kind of helping my parents out on nights and weekends. I was a kid in high school trying to make some money and put some gas in my tank so I could hang out with my friends. So it wasn't like my calling or anything back then. However, as time went on, and I had a cousin that I worked with that was a really, really good boss and very motivational to me. He kind of drove this into me, and I started to get more and more interested. And by the time I was 18, 19, 20, I was really starting to study this and kind of figured that it was something I wanted to pursue a little bit greater than I knew when I was 15, 16.
So you've been doing this pretty much your entire working life?
Yes, absolutely. My entire working life. I'm 35 now. I've been doing this since I was 15, 16. So literally over half my life I've been doing this.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's fun. Very neat. So your father, does he come from a whiskey background?
No, he does not come from a whiskey background. Both my parents, my mom and dad, come from ag businesses. The ag industry, both of them grew up on farms in Winthrop, Iowa. So they've had an appreciation for both whiskey and for wine, but they're lifelong farmers. And that's something that runs deep in my family, as it does in many Iowans' family, is generational farming. So we've always been tied to the land and to the grain, but there's obviously a natural progression from the grain to the whiskey, and that's what led us here. So when Prohibition ended, not many people know this, but a lot of the laws didn't really change back. Obviously, it became legal to enjoy alcohol consumption and stuff like that again, but to launch a distillery, a lot of those laws still needed to be changed back so that you could actually do that. So my dad, Jeff Quint, was very involved with doing that in the state of Iowa. He spent a lot of time driving back and forth to the Capitol, and he got things changed so that we could eventually launch a distilling business. And there were plenty of hurdles to jump through after that as well, but just to get things started took a lot of work, a lot of lobbying efforts for sure.
Yeah, that's what I remember, is because when you guys started, you were the first distillery in Iowa since Prohibition, and it was a big deal because the laws had to change in order for you to even distill, right?
That's exactly right.
And even to sell it, right? I mean, I don't want to fast forward too much, right? Because we're starting back in the beginning, but I remember when I started, I was like a month after I started, we could actually sell it on site, and that happened to be the first day we released our bourbon. So like, it was just evolution, and then they've changed a couple times since then. But yeah, it's been it's always changing.
Yeah. So here in Iowa now, I mean, there's all sorts of distilleries that are popping up and all over the state of Iowa, which is really kind of cool. To see. But so the bottom line there is, your father, Jeff, was instrumental in getting the laws changed in Iowa so that we could have distilleries to make whiskey here in Iowa.
That's exactly right. Yeah, this industry, the Iowa industry at least, wouldn't exist without that. Obviously, I like to think that someone would have done it had it not been him, but he was the guy who really paved the way and set the tone so that other people could open up and keep this moving.
So then, how did you settle on Swisher, located here in Swisher, Iowa?
That came down to this awesome piece of land that we're on. So my parents, they were, like I said early on, this was all about being a vineyard, and they were looking for the perfect spot to plant a vineyard. And the soil out here, the rolling hills out here, they were perfect for that setup. Eventually, it actually ended up working to be the perfect setup for a distillery as well, but the land that we're on out in Swisher, Iowa was perfect to plant a vineyard, and that's how we got started out here.
So the name, Cedar Ridge, where does the name come from?
So when you pull up to Cedar Ridge on historic Merrick Road out here, you'll see that there actually is a ridge of cedar trees right when you pull up. So like I said, early on, this was really about being a vineyard on a specific property, and that property has a literal ridge of cedar trees. And so my mom decided to name the property after that.
Fair enough. And if you didn't already pick it up, he mentioned the rolling hills out here in Swisher. And yes, Iowa is not all flat. We have a lot of hills. So you just have to kind of come here and experience it.
That's like my number one thing. Anytime I'm working in New York, California, or wherever, the first thing I start all of my meetings with is, just so you guys know, Iowa's not a flat state. It's actually a very hilly state. Please don't say it's flat.
So where do they find you? How does somebody get in touch with you?
CedarRidgeDistillery.com is our website, first and foremost, right? Tons of product information, all kinds of different stuff that we have going on. Visit a distillery, get tours, all that kind of stuff. Instagram is probably our best place, in my opinion, to follow, especially if you're a whiskey fan, to kind of see everything that Murphy and his team doing. That's at Cedar Ridge, Iowa. Murphy has got a page as well, so I'm not sure if he wants to pitch that or,
But I have my own little Instagram account. I just do some behind-the-scenes stuff, kind of bringing light to production. So at Murphy Quint on Instagram if you want to check that out. Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Hey, I'm Jeff Sart for the Great American Whiskey Cookers, for Murphy. Jamie, thank you guys for this discussion and talking about Cedar Ridge. You can find us at thegreatamericanwhiskeycookers.com. So until next time, be good at it. See ya.